Hey everybody, this is Curtis from PSNStores.com. This is week 2 of Toybox Creations. Attempt number 3 to record this video. Hopefully it works this time. Oh man, yeah. So I have some difficulty, getting this recorded, but for whatever reason, here we are. I figured we used Discuss this week. We didn't, we used Mickey and Olaf last week. I thought I'd change it up. So, this week I figured I wanted to try making a racetrack. So here is kind of my thought process here. Is I know next month we got the Toybox Speedway expansion coming up. And so I figured, that's going to add some new stuff. That's going to unlock a lot of new things that I don't have access to yet. That are specifically, things to use for, like, if you're going to make a race toy box or something. But I figured, I wanted to make one first, and then after that, see what's added. Maybe that would be something that, maybe there's stuff that would be added that I could come back to this track, and maybe alter a little bit, maybe make it a little bit better, or I would just make something completely new, and see what added functionality maybe this Toy Box expansion is going to add. I'm not sure, because it seems really hard to find any information on that at all, so that's good. But we're just gonna race through this, and I'm gonna kind of talk about some of the stuff that I kind of thought about as I made this. So I used the Monsters University theme. That was something that I figured might be fun to use. I know that there's some stuff from 1.0 that was in this that I had access to, so I figured why not use that. The trouble that I found is that there's not enough stuff to kind of cover a whole track, I guess. And so I found myself having like a lot of the buildings used up, and then there was just a ton of track without very many other like decorations to use, I guess. So I found that most of this track is just gonna have it just has a bunch of trees, on either side, which is fine. When you're racing through, it's one of the things I guess you don't really think about is, when you're racing, you're gonna be flying by everything very quickly. There's not like a whole lot of time for you to stop and look at the scenery. So it's one of those things that I guess like most people probably just don't think about. But I think when you're like designing a track and you want to kind of make it look nice, and you want to make you just want to make everything around the track look pretty good, it's kind of tough because especially with Monsters University here, like there's not a lot of stuff to use, and we'll look at that, once I finish this race. I'll get like a bird's eye view perspective of this, but it's one of those things like I didn't want to repeat buildings, although I ended up doing that, like you see on the left right here, and right there on the right. I just had to repeat some buildings just to have something there. Basically, the Monsters University it's got some buildings on the campus, and it's got some dorm room buildings. But other than that, there's mostly like trees, and there's some other things. But as far as like making scenery for a racetrack, there's not a ton. So it's kind of the thing where like the track's like too long, and there's not enough things to cover it, I guess. So I also put like some stands around. I think there's some other things I probably could have done if I would have branched out into other other types of things, like things that weren't included with the Monsters University playset. But I didn't have a whole lot of time, so this might be something I come back to later. But overall, I think the track itself it's okay. It's kind of a bummer you can't really adjust the racing difficulty like you can combat, so you're just gonna it's no contest here really. But there's definitely there's some things that there's some options I have for like maybe adding some hazards. One of the things I added at the beginning of the track in Monsters University, you have a lot of tricks that you can place. One of those are there's some things on the road that if you drive over them, they'll knock you back a few feet. But that's tough because like you can't really see them that well, especially when you're racing. They're pretty small, so it's kind of hard to see. So like I didn't place a lot of them. I did place some speed boosts, but other than that, there's not a lot of like extra stuff added. I think in the expansion game, I think that's gonna add like power-ups and things like that. But again, it feels like there's not a lot of information out there about it. So yeah, I have some stuff like this, but when you're actually racing, it's kind of hard to see them. So I ended up just only having a few at the start. But if we get our bird's eye view here, you see like I put all these buildings up front, and maybe that's where I made a mistake, is having them all kind of front loaded here, because after this is most of the buildings and there was a lot of track to cover. So I ended up, and I wanted to kind of, I didn't want to spread them out at first. I wanted to have it, it's like, okay, this opening area here is like, it feels like a place, and this is where all this is like where maybe I should have like taken the dorm rooms and the dorm buildings and put them over into a separate area, whereas like, you've got your like main campus building, your library, things like that. Maybe that would be its own area. So I probably could have done that, maybe to spread things out a little more, because I wanted to have the feeling of like you're driving through specific areas of the campus, and I'm not sure if I was successful in doing so, but as a first attempt, I think this came out okay. Again, I don't know if this is something I'll go back to later. I might. We'll see what kind of things the Toybox Speedway expansion adds. But for now, I think I had a little limited time this week, but I think for what this is, I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. So just more review here. So basically my plan here is we are over midway through September, October quickly approaching. My favorite holiday is Halloween, so I would like to do, my thought here is I think I might do like a 4-part series throughout October, and we'll do just one specific toy box. And the hope would be that we will make something that's a really cool Halloween themed toy box. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of the Nightmare Before Christmas themed items are locked behind the Speedway expansion, and I know the Speedway expansion is out in October, but I don't think we have a date yet. So that could be a problem. Hopefully that comes out towards the beginning of October. If not, that could be an issue, but I think the plan is to do like a Halloween themed toy box, and we'll split it up into weeks or something. That way I have a lot of time to put into it and make it look pretty good. So that's gonna do it for this week. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know of ways that I can improve these videos in the future. And until then, I will see you next week.